World was still reeling from the devastation of tank warfare. One machine emerged that would set the gold standard for post-war armored design, the British Centurion. Known as the backbone of the British Army, during the Cold War, the Centurion became one of the most successful and influential tanks ever built. From the battlefields of Korea to the deserts of the Middle East, it proved its worth time and time again. This is the story of the Centurion, a tank that bridged the gap between the old world of World War II armor and the modern age of main battle tanks. The story begins in 1943, when British designers realized that their existing tanks, like the Cromwell and Churchill, were becoming obsolete. German Tigers and Panthers were dominating the battlefield, and the Allies needed something faster, better armored, and more powerful to meet them head-on. The War Office issued an urgent requirement for a universal tank, one that could replace both cruiser and infantry tanks, combining speed, armor, and firepower into one deadly package. In less than 2 years, the design team at Leyland Motors and AEC produced the first prototype of what would become the Centurion. It was too late to see combat in World War II, but it rolled out just as the guns of Europe fell silent in 1945. 6 prototypes were sent to Germany in May that year, and the British Army immediately knew they had something special. The tank combined thick-sloped armor, excellent mobility, and a powerful 17-pounder gun, the same gun that made the Sherman Firefly feared by German crews. When the Centurion entered full production, it quickly evolved through numerous versions. The early Mk1 and Mk2 models were soon replaced by the Centurion Mk3, which introduced the legendary 20-pounder gun, a high-velocity cannon capable of knocking out any Soviet tank of its era. This marked the moment when the Centurion transitioned from a stopgap design to the true backbone of Britain's armored forces. But what truly made the Centurion special wasn't just its firepower or armor, it was its balance. Every aspect of the design was refined to create a tank that could move fast, shoot accurately, and take punishment on any terrain. Its 650 horsepower Rolls-Royce Meteor engine, derived from the famous Merlin aircraft engine, gave it surprising mobility for its weight. With a top speed of around 22 miles per hour off-road and excellent cross-country capability, it could maneuver in conditions that would bog down other heavy tanks. The Centurion's armor was equally impressive. The hull and turret featured heavily sloped armor, with up to 152 mm of steel at the front. It was designed to deflect incoming rounds rather than absorb them, giving it a strong defensive profile against contemporary anti-tank weapons. Inside, the crew of 4, commander, gunner, loader, and driver, worked in a relatively spacious interior compared to earlier British tanks, which improved comfort and efficiency during long operations. Then came the test of fire, the Korean War. In 1950, when North Korea invaded the South, British forces rushed to support the UN intervention. The Centurion Mk3 was deployed in the rugged hills and muddy plains of Korea, facing Soviet-supplied T-34 85th S. Despite the challenging terrain and brutal conditions, the Centurion proved its superiority. It could climb steep slopes, hold its ground under heavy fire, and deliver accurate shots even at long range. In one engagement at the Battle of the Imjin River, Centurions of the 8th King's Royal Irish Hussars fought waves of Chinese infantry and T-34s, holding the line until the very end. Its performance in Korea cemented its reputation as one of the finest tanks of the post-war era. As the Cold War intensified, the Centurion became the cornerstone of NATO's armored forces in Europe. Britain exported it to dozens of countries, including Australia, Canada, India, Israel, and Sweden. Each nation modified the tank to suit its own needs, and new upgrades kept the design relevant through the 1950s, 60s, and beyond. The most significant upgrade came with the Centurion Mk5 and Mk7 variants, which introduced the Royal Ordnance L7105mm gun, one of the most successful tank guns ever built. The L7 gave the Centurion the ability to engage and destroy the latest Soviet tanks like the T-54 and T-55 at long range. Its firepower was so respected that many other nations, including the United States and Germany, adapted the L7 for their own tanks, like the M60 Patton and Leopard 1. The Centurion's adaptability was unmatched. Britain developed specialized variants for every battlefield role, bridge layers, armored recovery vehicles, engineer tanks, and even flamethrower versions. This versatility meant that even as newer tanks entered service, the Centurion continued to serve in critical support roles for decades. Israel's experience with the Centurion, known locally as the Sho't, was another legendary chapter in its history. Israel first received Centurions in the late 1950s, and they quickly became the backbone of the Israeli Armored Corps. During the Six-Day War in 1967 and the Yom Kippur War in 1973, Israeli Centurions faced off against waves of Arab T-55s and T-62s. Through superior tactics, training, and the tank's rugged design, they emerged victorious in some of the largest tank battles since World War II. After these wars, Israel upgraded the Centurion with new engines, armor, and fire control systems, extending its combat life well into the 1980s. In Vietnam, Australian Centurions played a vital role supporting infantry operations in the dense jungles. Unlike lighter American tanks that struggled in the terrain, the Centurion's thick armor and powerful gun allowed it to survive ambushes and take on fortified positions. Australian soldiers nicknamed it their best friend, as it could go places no other armored vehicle could. Even India used the Centurion to great effect. During the Indo-Pakistani War of 1965, Indian Centurions clashed with Pakistani Pathans in the famous Battle of Asal, Uttar. In one of the largest tank battles since World War II, the Centurion's superior fire control and resilience allowed Indian forces to destroy over 100 enemy tanks, earning the battlefield the nickname, Pathan Nagar, the graveyard of Pathans. By the late 1960s, newer designs like the Chieftain were entering service in the British Army, but the Centurion's story was far from over. Many countries continued to modernize their fleets with diesel engines, reactive armor, laser rangefinders, and new optics. Some, like South Africa, went even further, transforming the Centurion into the Oliphant, a heavily upgraded version that served well into the 21st century. What made the Centurion endure for so long was its strong foundation. Its hull, suspension, and turret design were so advanced for their time that they could be endlessly upgraded without losing effectiveness. It was, in many ways, the first true, main battle tank, combining the best features of mobility, protection, and firepower into one unified design. Over its production life, more than 4,400 Centurions were built, serving in over 20 nations across every continent. From the icy hills of Korea to the deserts of Sinai and the jungles of Vietnam, it earned a reputation for reliability and strength. Crews praised its accuracy, commanders trusted its armor, and enemies respected its power. Even though the British Army eventually retired it in the 1990s, many Centurions still operate today in specialized roles or as museum pieces, a testament to its durability and historical significance. It became the bridge between two eras, from the clunky, limited tanks of World War II to the highly capable, flexible main battle tanks that define modern warfare. In the end, the Centurion wasn't just a tank, it was a symbol of engineering mastery and military evolution. It taught the world what a modern tank should be and inspired generations of armored vehicles that followed. Whether in the mud of Korea, the sand of Sinai, or the green fields of Europe, the Centurion stood firm, a true warrior of the Cold War, and one of the greatest tanks ever built.